Hey, good evening, friends. Long time. Stash is here with you tonight. Saturday night. Saturday night, semi-quarantine now. Everything's safe except for revolution. Tonight we continue to talk about the movie The Joker, combined with the work of Billington, Fire on the Minds of Men. Men in the revolutionary faith. I like it. Tonight I look like a friend of a Bond villain or a direct Bond villain of the man. And I talk about the Joker because you won't even get 5 likes or views on this YouTube unless you talk about some sort of movie thing that's mass-produced with money, right? Just like that guy, Jay Dyer. Jay Dyer. I used to like to rap with him on the Twitter, but I pissed him off. I called him a pussy for only talking about Zbigniew Brzezinski, blaming everything on Zbigniew Brzezinski. I, as a Pole, cannot tolerate that. Read Between Two Ages that made the guy. He's an interesting guy. He's got a couple of books about the I don't know, mostly movies or something. And he's I think he's a student of Orthodox theology and so forth. Interesting guy, but he blocked me on the Twitter. I don't blame him. I called him a pussy. Anyway, but I think he said that, which is interesting, and he's a good talker, and he's a good whatever. But he's not helping bridge the peace gap between the Roman and the Orthodox very well. Anyway, I shouldn't talk nil about the guy. Read his books. I forget the name of his books. Something about Hollywood, and I had read them. They were pretty good. Anyway, I went way off topic. Oh, I'm mentioning Jay because I think he even said that you got to talk about movies on here. Otherwise, nobody will listen. And I think maybe they see that you're talking about it, and they think it might be a clip from the movie. So anyway, read his stuff. I'm sorry to bitch about Dyer. Many people have accused him of being a phony because he works for the Gaia Network, and again he runs around picking a lot of debates and fights and stuff like that. And he is also extremely intelligent, but it's often inaccessible to the layperson because he's actually not. He sort of does these concepts, religion, very complicated stuff, and he doesn't break it down for the lay viewer. So there you go. I'm still bitching about the guy because I have 2 viewers and he has 200,000 or something. Never the mind. Check out his books. How many times can you talk about fucking Eyes Wide Shut? You have to, otherwise you won't get any viewers. But anyway, we're back to the Joker and Billington. Fire in the Minds of Men. The Joker is a revolutionary movie. There seems to be a idea that he's been abused and he's psychotic, and then he rises above it and becomes shows his capacity for violence and his extreme intelligence as the Joker. As the other more comic booky Joker movies, he becomes that, but he's more human. And a lot of people are saying this movie wasn't for kids. It's a real movie. He's not fighting superheroes and leotards and Batman and shit. He's a psychopath. It's an extremely violent movie. Very much relatively more realistic. Than obviously the other Batman. It's almost as if this movie was filmed to deliberately create a revolutionary army, right? He's put down. We show a lot of empathy from him. His mother's tied him to a radiator, and he's beat down. The system is unfair to him. The kids beat him up on the street. The world is full of scumbags. Then he's made fun of by the Robert De Niro, king of comedy, prick, jerky, shithead, I don't know, scumbag, Tonight Show host, evil Tonight Show host, who he blows him away. So you feel empathy with the Joker. Arthur Fleck, I think his name is Arthur Fleck, right? I'm definitely not as good at the movie stuff as the other guy. But whatever, let's talk about it. So how does it have to do with that complex book by Billington, Fire in the Minds of Men? It has absolutely to do with it. It's the revolutionary faith. I think he got the title from a Russian, maybe even a Dostoevsky book. Revolution, communism, those type of movements are a faith as any of the Abrahamic religions, just as much. In fact, in a certain sense, more so. Are you sold a bill of goods? Everyone will be equal? Or is it the greatest thing? People drone on about it. Of course, capitalism isn't working for you. Then you want an alternative. You might go for it. So it's appealing. And it takes over. But everybody forgets the murders. How many murders under the Bolsheviks? How many deaths and murders under the Maoists? The Great Leap Forward. Noam Chomsky, the great academic, denies that the big black book of communism, I'll leave that in the liner notes, isn't real. There was no Pol Pot to that extent. I don't even know if he went into Cambodia. It's the Russian Revolution is casualties are exaggerated. There are many professors and academics who say this isn't real. There are many that have a bone to pick with Alexander Solzhenitsyn, a great writer. Oh no, he wasn't in the Gulag. So there's a lot of that, at least towards the end of The Joker. If you haven't seen it yet, whatever, spoiler alert. His powers develop in the people. He becomes a kind of Bernie Getz, the subway vigilante of the old school New York world. He's an everyman, and people see something in him. It's magical. Seen as a sophisticated movie, I guess so, but actually it's a pretty, like all American cinema. It's very well done, but it's seen as really deep and everything, and he becomes this monster, or you feel for him, whatever. But it's actually cut that all the way. It's your typical superhero movie, sort of. From zero to the hero, in a way, added with a lot of the mystique of psychosis. Definitely madness is in it, but in the end, magically, people see something in him. I suppose as a result of the media, because you see the Joker's face splattered around Gotham via the newspaper. So again, the media plays a role in the Joker, right? If it wasn't for the newspapers, he wouldn't be anything. Right? Sorry for the negativity on the Jay Dyer guy. If you're a fan, tell him I apologize, but he's blocked me. He's a son of Moses or something. A former Roman Catholic or something like that, who's changed the Orthodox faith and beats up on people in the Twitter if they if they dare to stay with the Western Church. I would say because of Russia and Putin, the Orthodox Church is on the ascent, right? The Roman is definitely on the decline. The new Pope, I don't remember his name. He's so uninspiring. Argentinian man or something. Anyway. So I'm bitching about it, but I'm saying read his books. I forget. I don't know what the hell they're called. Hollywood something. Why can't I remember? For me personally, they didn't have much new. The Laurel Canyon and Zbigniew Brzezinski, the transhumanism. Then you know, it's you know, it's out there in other forms. It's not something that's gonna get him completely banned for the Twitter, although I believe Jay got his WordPress thing shut down. Good for him. I'm not in his league. This channel is for fun, but I'm demonetized, so what do I give a shit? We're continuing to talk about the Joker now. So his revolutionary power comes, and people don his mask, and they look, you know. And there's a lot of this thing. Stephen King and was pushing it that the clowns are going to come and get you, and they were appearing. The Staten Island clown was there, and it was like kind of an old school media hoax. Everything's a clown. It is coming, and it too will be even more fucking scary. And and then we have the we're a nation of infantile people, myself included. Where there's no adults here, there's no men left in America. So there are the comic book conventions, and everybody dresses, yeah, like an asshole. But it's sexy, and particularly the women look great. And Harley Quinn, okay, I guess that's sexist to say that, but it's a kind of got a, just like the Joker. It's definitely got a homicidal, suicidal element to it. And despite the intellectual feel of the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, it's still a souped-up comic book movie with a lot of psychosis, and the crowd goes wild. In light of the revolution happening now in America, that will get more intense up to November. And there's been these kind of revolutionary movies that are impressive connected to the comic books, which also have similar things in real life, like the V for Vendetta. You know, if you were with the old guard, you're evil, and the very attractive actress shaves her head and even looks cooler with the head shaved, and she's put down, and she's defended by the anonymous guy who quotes Shakespeare. That's the V for Vendetta, which isn't entirely different than the Joker, I don't think, in certain aspects, in that it's a revolution. This is why, again, I will finally get to Billington and the minds of men. But a revolutionary faith, and they wear the anonymous mask, and there is anonymous. The anonymous is out there, and they wear that mask. I guess they do good things or whatever. And it's got some similarities to The Matrix, which I guess would be also a revolutionary film. Or, you know, the wool is pulled over your head, and now you're woke. You're woke. Everybody is woke now. These all actually, yeah, I guess it has a lot in common. The savior comes. He is a revolution against in that case, the AI. But really, when people are watching, I'm being fucked by the system. I am Neo. I am Neo's friend. And I really know the truth. That's another movie where people go homicidal on the cops. There's probably thousands of cops that are shot in Matrix or whatever. So they are of the system, and everybody's against them, even though the cops obviously are not exactly on the highest level of the pyramid in some neighborhoods. I mean, Tupac said we need the police to help us. He did. In a fatherless urban society, who the hell comes to the fucking police, right? But now they're the enemy, and now statues of the enemy, and blah, 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 blah. And I don't even understand what the woke thing is. I'm not even going to say the name of those organizations. I'm only talking about the revolutionary faith with regard to these films. Don't re-demonetize me. But the fire in the minds of men, Billington, has to do with the revolution, the early stages. So actually, this channel, I talk a lot of bullshit about Illuminati and stuff, like any weird channel does now. That's addressed, of course. The origins of the revolutionary faith are in occultism, part of it. The Illuminists were one of the significant, if not the most significant, secret society in the origins of communism, no doubt. And they were secretive. They had code names. The leader of the Illuminati, 1776, was Adam Weishaupt, which is not discussed. It's not allowed by the liberals. He was Spartacus. That was his code name. Spartacus was the slave that revolted against Rome. As sophisticated and all spooky as the Illuminists were, their goals were rather simple. No more monarchy and no more church, and that's it. It's been said in some conspiratorial type books that they were bankrolled by the Rothschilds. I think that is plausible, although there's no major proof of that. In this modern era, I think there is some evidence that the Open Society, influenced by George Kennan, that there is a significant change agent in the form of George Soros, the hedge fund manager, and now his son. That they were involved in the Orange Revolution in Ukraine, student uprisings, that they're very open about it. They have the Open Society organizations in nearly every country in the world. So people, okay, yeah, all right, born again Christians and people like me and others of us, we marvel at the Illuminists and their existence. I would say right now, what is their power controlled to a handful of these hedge fund managers? Right? Are they the Illuminati? The Illuminati is also, I've said before, it's your perceived enemy. Okay, so if you're Protestant, it's the papist Roman bastards. They're the Illuminati, right? And whatever, right? It's like that. Your enemy will be called Illuminati, or if the system does right by you, then you say fuck you. The Illuminati is bullshit. You're a nut. If you're a disenfranchised person and you're angry, then belief in Illuminati is justified. If you want to read about it in the modern era, what those type of things I would recommend, and this book might get you mad because he dismisses some of it. Niall Ferguson. Shit, I'll leave it in line notes. I forget he has a book that talks about the networking. And the superclass. There's another book called The Superclass that literally talks about the people. So people go, well, they're secret. No, they're not fucking secret. Nobody just reads. Nobody reads any books. So people, the Illuminati is secret. No, they're not. Well, the 1% is not a secret. Not entirely. Not entirely. It's available. That's one of the books, Super Class, and they're written about. We've met at Davos, and we do this and that, and people, many people, and in particular the women in the Western world, very often reluctant to criticize such things because they are of the revolutionary faith of a feminism movement. So talk about a superstructure, like this part reality of an illuminist, of a skull and bones, of talk about a 1%, is not looked upon with very kindly, because for better or for worse, they're in that movement. And now there's the other ones that I won't even mention that are in the news every day. And people, you look at these YouTube, people not hesitate to say that everyone is. Yes, Joe Biden did use the phrase New World Order. I don't think Trump has. Is he better? I don't know. Or anybody in these YouTube things will not hesitate. Well, of course, Trump is Illuminati. I'm in the Illuminati. You're in the Illuminati. Putin's in the Illuminati. And so is Duarte. And everybody's in the Illuminati. And they have videos with hand signs. Jay-Z's in the Illuminati. And Beyonce is Illuminati. I think the discussion of that, I've gone way off. How does that to deal with the revolutionary faith? Definitely. The origins were in occultism. And they did battle with the Jesuit order. And the group started in Ingolstadt, Bavaria. So many would say, well, that's it. It was just the Jesuits. I would say there isn't much Jesuits left. I've met hundreds of men who told me the Jesuits rule the world. Where are they? Where the fuck are they? Notre Dame or something? Boston College? What are they? They're fucking 100 years old. But okay, all right. They'll say, well, I've heard a guy tell me there's a pink cardinal behind there. There's the black pope. Okay, all right. Did they have any cash? No, not really. What do they have? The artifacts to sell from the Renaissance? Does the collection plate bring in dough? I'm obviously a Roman agent. I will crush the Illuminist. Long live the Jesuit order. I'm talking like Alex Jones. I guess if you do these kind of stupid discussions of stupid shit, because actually talking about Illuminati is fucking stupid. Let's be frank. But it moved from there. So the revolutionary faith took fire in the continent. The greatest kingdom in Christendom was France. It was France. There was a huge revolution there. There was indeed involvement. Count Cagliostro, the con man, the magic man, the black magician, if you will. Or, okay, there's no black magic. The occultist, the weirdo, the con man. He was illuminized in such and such time. It is said that he did ensnare. He was involved in a trap against Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. It was an early media bashing, and she was off with the head. The guillotine, and all this great freedom. The forbidden author Nestor Webster said, nothing happened in the French Revolution except poor people killed one another. And I buy that. With some low-level priests and nuns, they tortured them and killed themselves. And then it was so violent, they fucking killed each other. Are we headed in that direction in the Western world? One hopes not. If you're getting involved in this kind of activity, maybe don't. Maybe get your head out of your ass. These activities of tearing down the statues and stuff like that, they resemble the French Revolution. Yeah. This United States of America experiment and Thomas Paine and different people, very influenced by the societies, from the journalist, and there was also, just as now, will-to-do people became involved in these movements for excitement, as it is now. I mean, at least that's, if it's to be believed. I've heard things that many of these people involved in these movements in the States and now much of Europe are well-to-do young people causing trouble. In the build-up to the French Revolution, there was an extreme amount of bizarre, sexualized, and use of orgies and secret cafes and freak shows, midgets having sex with giant women, and secret compartments with dumb waiters to hide under the cafes. And they'd failed, but then they succeeded. It didn't quite happen that way in the United States. I mentioned Niall Ferguson in a number of his books. He makes a strong case for the Americans were not correct in the dumping of the tea. He does. He makes a reasoned argument that it was bullshit. But no taxation without representation, and out of the taverns, out of the Masonic taverns of the Boston and Concord, Mass, or whatever, in different places, it was brother against brother. Indeed, the Masons of the new colony versus the crown. The revolution. Not quite the same as the French one. Exactly. It was the Enlightenment period. It was the Enlightenment, and this country is influenced by it. Obviously, you're seen as a fool for talking about it, but of course, the trappings of it are everywhere. The city of Washington, and people, we marvel over the weirdness and the fertility symbols of the Washington Monument and the dollar bill. I mean, so I love how people who are successful and intellectual put us people who question this bullshit down. When you look at the dollar bill and you're crazy to talk about, of course it is. It's a big fucking magic bullshit looking thing. He favors our undertaking, new world order through the ages. This quote's from Virgil. But then there's a pyramid of mysticism, of things like that. In part 3 of this, I'm going to go through the Joker and this idea of manifestation, which is very popular now. So this one, if you don't like, I'm going to that one. I highly recommend Billington, Fire on the Minds of Men. Now, because it goes through after that, the Italian Revolution situation, and very many of the figures in that book are highly influential in parties of the United States now. Very much. And the Hollywood. And it's Hollywood was always very, very filled with rich communists, right? which I shouldn't say. Or at least if the George Clooney Hail Caesar movie is right. That's hilarious. Sort of pokes fun of the fact that now, are they all sinister? And no, I think, plenty of Hollywood people are into that type of thing. I think they're well-meaning and they believe that it's the way to go, socialism, whatever. And there were different revolutionary circles in Europe. Wagner, who's seen as I guess, an evil figure, was involved in revolutionary. Pilsudski of Poland, who was arrested in Austria, the leader who would later fight the Bolsheviks, the early communists, was actually involved in revolution. He was arrested in Austria. He was involved in it. So there were problems. There were problems with the monarchy too. The Okhrana of Russia could be cruel. Later, they'd be defeated and turned into the Cheka and transform into the KGB. Now I think it's FSB, right? FSB. KGB? KGB is now FSB. Is anybody liking this? Who the fuck is out there? Somebody say something. Thank you to my 2 viewers. Of course, 31 minutes without any movie clips and shit. Nobody's going to listen to this. I don't blame you. And I'm talking too fast and loud, and it's probably not a good. This might not even be a good ASMR one. But anyway, what was the filmmaker doing with that film, the Joker? Why do they appear at the end of the movie? His powers of anger and mystic Jokerism transfer into the crowd, and they start to fight the police, which looks a lot like America now, and so forth. And in Europe, because of the wars and all throughout the Middle East, is partially a factor in a massive immigration wave. So there's been nothing but 10 years of pictures of the European cops fighting people. And when they asked the General Miley or whatever, he just said, it's protected speech or whatever. He didn't say. He's a fucking U.S. military general. First of all, he said, my responsibility is to keep the public safe. Then after that, he can say, I don't have anything against protest or the First Amendment. But, and I know the posse comitatus and all this, and different people like that. Where is that? And why is there no concern for the public? Or is this the right thing to happen and these movements are all benevolent? After the people get possessed in the Joker and they crash Gotham and beat the shit out of the cops or whatever, what good comes from that? Does the Joker become the mayor? Complete psychotic fucking freak? I don't know. I don't know what they meant by that in that movie. But it ends with the destruction or whatever. Or does he go to fight Batman or something? In this movie, Batman's father isn't a nice guy. He's a prick or something. So we feel good that the Joker kills him. I don't know. One has to ask, with the death toll numbers, what did the revolutionary faith accomplish? Did you rid the world of disgusting superstition of the monarchy in the disgusting religion? Did it all get leveled? They used to be the levelers. I think Bernard Shaw was one of them. What good has come from them? What good has even come from the peace movement people who followed the socialist revolutionary faith? What have they done? Have they freed anybody? Have they stopped one single fucking war? Name me one they've stopped. The peaceniks. What is it really all about? To the forces that they're supposedly aligned against, did they think it up? He's changing the names of products. If you see some type of statue or something, do you melt into complete anger? Or when it comes down, do you feel the goodness? Do you feel it? These are all good questions. Or do we have to face the facts that the invention of Adam Smith, the wealth of nations, if there's no need for the butcher, the baker to be benevolent because I work, they work, I pay for it. But not to get even more conspiratorial, the 1776, these crazy groups, Illuminists and so forth, were formed. And at that time, that was when Adam Smith, I suppose he could be called the father of capitalism, The Wealth of Nations. His book was born in 1776. There's a lot of weird stuff like that. Now the Freedom Tower is 1776, and everything is 1776. Does that mean there's everything is bad for it just because some Mason guy? Are they all bad? No, of course not. They do good things. The founding fathers, were they all evil? Did they all have to go? Nothing they did was right. What if they lost? This would remain a colony and under control of the crown. Isn't that good that they won? Can't you give these guys any credit? Got to tear down the statue of every guy. Abraham Lincoln, I thought he won the Civil War. Tear down his statue. But they tore down Ulysses S. Grant. He was a Union general. He's a total eradication of history, right out of Eric Blair, better known as George Orwell's 1984. Who controls the past, the future, whatever. 10 minutes hate. Oh, we're against Big Brother. So, destroying Minneapolis has brought freedom. What about this freak show city in Seattle? Really? Has that brought the ultimate freedom? No. It's fire in the minds of men in a different form. Pent-up anger. The shouting of slogans. The mindless transformation of the masses, like in the Joker. I made a connection there. The minds of the masses are transformed. I thought this was a pretty good blog, but I'm sorry to bitch about the J fucking Dyer guy. Oh, he's a professional, whatever. I'm just a dude. The names, I'm not going to name everybody, but there's the different forms of communism, the communist faith, the Octoberist, the Decemberist, are all to be analyzed in that book. And how will the American experiment, is it destined to end now? Transform it into something better. Everybody's woke now, whatever that is. Or is it a 1984 nightmare with the destruction of words, and people see statues and things and they can't handle it? They're unable to have a discussion. Turning into emotion. Emotion is better. Feelings. All goodness must come. All evil must be stamped out. People can't reason and have a discussion. Look at the statue, know what's behind it. Condemn what's wrong, discuss it. No, tear it down. I think one of the protest people unfortunately got hit by the flying Christopher Columbus statue. So you tear a statue down, and then what? I don't know. Is there discussion of what it was? I guess. Okay, well. And if he was the destroyer of the indigenous people, which I think is the narrative, okay. Then give back America to the North Americans. And everybody of African descent should be paid reparations and perhaps return to their original continent or something. I don't know. Or I guess they should have this one. But then what? Then it gets into a contest. Who has suffered more? I've been on here for 20 videos complaining about the Slavics. Polish Americans, nothing but mostly jokes or whatever. We get jokes. You can't even talk. That type of thing. It's not allowed. You can't. That hurts you. It displeases you. It's not. You're not. It's not in the same league, pal. Happier descendants were killed in World War II. No, it's not. It's not allowed. It's not on the list of the people of the revolutionary faith, is it? It just isn't. What good has ever come of focusing on emotion and losing control? Who's ever done anything good when they lose their cool? Who has accomplished anything, right? I hope you guys have listened this long to this fucking rant. Sorry for the language. Sorry about bitching about that guy. I'll put in the line of notes that book I'm discussing. It's a must read. Maybe I'll discover it. Maybe I'll even read chapters from it or some stuff. And you can ASMR out on it. But my simple message is, you watch that movie, The Joker, it turns into a revolutionary catastrophe, really, because of the pain of a man who was wronged. And there have been people wronged with these movements that I have not mentioned in this video. No doubt. But flipping out and losing cool over it, rather than the normal debate or waiting for the election, November 3rd, November whatever, is irrational, desperate, stupid. And you do have to ask, who is bankrolling the activities in Europe now, in America, and, kind of think about it. But as you can see, the crowd, what's the name of that guy? Gustave Le Bon. The crowd has a mind, and once the crowd moves, the crowd cannot stop. Or Jacques Ellul. Jacques Ellul has a book, Propaganda. Once you buy into it, you sell into it, nobody turns back. Once the professional propagandists begin to ply their trade, the revolution happens. the war happens, and that's it. And that could be this now, or this is the greatest thing. And the Joker movie has saved people by you sticking up for yourself. And the current new revolution or upcoming civil war, whatever the hell's going on, or this is all just a distraction. We're going to switch to AI, and there's not going to be enough jobs, and that's why they're pushing legalization of weed, and we're on our way to a mythical technological paradise. But that's a topic for another time. The Joker and Fire in the Minds of Men. I'll leave in line notes the name of that book. Sorry to the other guy. And my reasons for sticking up for Zbigniew Brzezinski is he's not his daughter, number one. Number two, read all his books. Read all his books. Get a hold of them. Don't just take the 9/11 bullshit conspiracy element to Grand Chessboard. Check it out. Don't just hear guys vlog and podcast about Between Two Ages. Brzezinski, figure out how to get that book and read him, rather than just condemn him as the ultimate leader of the New World Order and da 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 da. No, he was an intellectual. At times he was a war hawk, but he was an imperialist, but he was an American imperialist, and there's pros and cons to that. All right, I'm going to second part 2 of this shortly. Anybody out there, get in chat. Chat with the man. I'll see you shortly. Do widzenia. Dobranoc. Do widzenia. Whatever. Pожалуйста. Shit. All right. Be with you shortly.